Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel and the Galilee. Ah, and, I don't even know what the weather's going to be today. We'll find out in a minute. Um, we're on the 17th of August. It's about 8:14 in the morning. No good. 80 degrees already. That's pretty hot, but not so bad. It's only going to 91. Not so bad. Not so bad. Okay. Um, well, today we're gonna have, there's a lot of news, actually, a lot, and it's really important news. Um, I don't, as you know, report very much on Ukraine and Russia, and I'm not going to do so today. But there's a lot of news about Iran, and Qatar is in the news there with them. It looks like there's going to be a serious war between Iran and Qatar, and that would mean, in my opinion, goodbye Qatar. And Trump's nepotism son-in-law, what's his name, Kushner, is trying to negotiate with Hamas in Egypt, and we'll discuss how those negotiations are going. And as normal, Trump fails in negotiations. As you know, he's not succeeded anywhere in the Middle East, has he? No, nowhere. Okay, we're also going to show you that the UAE and Oman have walked away from Trump and made some sort of arrangements with Iran, of which there's no public disclosure, so I don't know what arrangements they made with them. I could only, guess, and we'll discuss that during the broadcast, okay? And Mommy Dog is behaving very, very well, but not, extremely well, eating everything, playing, being herself, jumping up and down. She's being herself. Of course, being herself when it's 95 degrees or something like that, or 98, the dogs find a cool spot on the tile floor and they just lay around. That's when they're healthy. They do that. They don't want to, even though the AC's running, it's warm in the house anyway. I mean, it's not, So anyway, she's doing pretty good, but please keep the prayers going, because just please keep the prayers going. I want to make sure that this is, complete. My wife has made some special food for her with all kinds of nutrients and two different kinds of meat, chicken and beef, and it's a brothy thing, so it's meat with the water, so she's getting fluid, although she is drinking quite a bit anyway, so I gave her some food yesterday off my food from my plate, and she snapped at it so hard she almost took my fingers off. I mean, she went, she couldn't wait to get it, And she's really filled up on food yesterday, which is good, because then they get their strength back, and she was drinking, and that's good too. So she's bounced back quite well, but thank you for the prayers, and keep the prayers going. And I have a very nice announcement. We've been praying for people that don't have a place to live to get a place to live. And one of the people we've been praying for, I'm not going to divulge any clue as to who this person is. I don't even want to give gender, okay? So this person unexpectedly became homeless. It shocked me. This person is a faithful giver. For as long back as I can remember, this person's a faithful giver, and wound up homeless. It was a little surprising to me. No, it was a lot surprising to me. And what happened is this person got not just a place to live, a house, like detached house, right? On the small side, but it's a one person, living situation. It's one person. So what do you need a great big house for? And then you gotta go clean a great big house. So if hey, when you're homeless and you got your own detached house, even though it's on the small side, it's great. So that was a good answered prayer. And I think we got one more to go, so we'll keep praying, okay? But I just want to tell you, we've been persistent, and it worked. And this person moves in a few days. It's up in the air how many days. So before I forget, let's say a quick prayer. I pray, my Heavenly Father, I'm just going to use one initial for M, that M moves into this house, has no problems getting into the house, nothing changes, everything is fine, and M is very happy and content with the house. And I submit this prayer to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that if you like. So M's not in the house yet. It takes a few days to get in, but it could be, just a very brief period of time too. I don't know. Okay, so it's not going to be a long time. All right. So we've got a lot to cover there, and then we're going to do Isaiah 47 on the daughter of Babylon. And then I'm going to prove to you in the scriptures, short and sweet, 3 verses, that all the believers, non-Israelite, I don't care what your origins are, I don't care what color you are, I don't care what crazy language you speak, I don't care what crazy country you came from, if you're a real believer in Yeshua, you're in Israel and will be treated as such in the redemption and in the next great Exodus. I'm going to prove it to you that you will be incorporated into physical Israel. I'm going to prove it to you beyond the shadow of the doubt. And why the churches don't do this, don't get me started. Okay. Let me go into the live stream. It looks like we're going okay there. Let me turn the sound down. And I got to get a post up in the chat, which I'll do, probably take seconds while people are coming in. Let's check for typos. We are good. Let me get this pinned up. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, I'm going to say a quick prayer for us during the broadcast and so forth. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem, Yeshua, HaMashiach, I pray for a good live stream today, a good anointed live stream, and I could help the people, and you help me, and you help the people too, and they understand the scriptures, and they understand the games the nations are playing, and how they treat Israel. And I pray we all have a good time, and we have no technical difficulties or other difficulties. And I pray that if I do happen to get any deliveries, that it would be quick, that we could, we would be in and out on the deliveries. And I pray all this to you, my Heavenly Father, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. Okay. Now, there are some prayer requests, and of course, that's very important. What kind of believers would we be if we didn't do prayer requests, right? Wouldn't be such great believers, would we? Okay, we got a prayer request for NE, Normandy Echo, NE, Normandy Echo, NE. Pray for physical healing for NE and family, including but not limited to allergy relief and emotional healing. So let's see if we can put this together a little bit better. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for NE, Normandy Echo NE. I pray for NE and family for physical and emotional healing, and especially healing from allergies. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And you can agree with that if you're a believer, even if it's a video, don't worry about it. God can work through that. Nothing's too hard for the Lord. Okay. And that was the prayer request. And when people wind up homeless, which doesn't happen much with our people, just as of late, it really started popping up. I remember years ago somebody did that, but I don't think that person was a real believer, because the person wanted to be homeless. I don't want to pay rent, I don't want the responsibility, I'm just going to go homeless. That's not such a great idea, Okay. Okay, off the homeless, let's see. Here we go, news. U.S. oil reserves are so low due to the Trump war thing. The caverns holding them can be damaged. I wouldn't say caverns. The tanks, I believe, would be more like it. And there's different, like oil and different kinds of chemicals that could deposit on the bottom and the walls too, I suppose, but especially on the bottom. That sort of a sludgy stuff that can cause trouble. It could mess up the pumps and things like that. So when you read about the reserves, you have to also understand that a good part of the reserves may not be usable. Okay. Um, okay, I'm detecting somebody's trying to throw some spiritual warfare at me. So I'm going to have a little game with them. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I command you unclean spirits to depart from every person that's currently in any and all of the following airports. Depart from all these people that are in the airport, in the passenger terminal, in planes on the runway or the tarmac or at the dock, people in the parking lot, people driving through the roads of the airport. So when I say the name of the airport, all you unclean spirits have to depart from every person in the airport, the employees, the pilots, all of them, everybody. And I want this to apply immediately to John F. Kennedy Airport, LaGuardia Airport, Dulles International Airport, Los Angeles International Airport, Miami International Airport, Heathrow International Airport, Beijing International Airport, Rome International Airport. Come out from all these people immediately, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. And if they start up again with this nonsense, we'll go back and do more airports. So please agree with me on the toss for these airports. And if they start up again, we'll go back and do another 5 or 6 airports, and you see what kind of price they want to pay. Do they want to see 50 or 150,000 tosses or whatever? We'll give it to them. Okay. Next time we won't do airports. We'll do something different. Okay. The UAE Emirates is starting to fly in Iranian airspace again for the first time for a long time. So what happened is the UAE, we saw they were sending some of their high-end jets for their top people into Iran back and forth, and obviously they negotiated some sort of a deal with Iran. So the UAE punked out, ran away from Trump, just thinks Trump's worthless, and went and made a deal with Iran. And the other one they did was Oman. They made a deal with Iran too. And I'll cover that with you momentarily. It has to do with shipping routes in Iran going near Oman. So Saudi Arabia didn't exactly go to Iran because they're being attacked and having a war with the Houthis, which is a puppet of Iran. So it looks like the UAE and the Saudis are no longer, bosom buddies anymore. I don't think they're ready to kill each other or anything like that, but I think they are going their different ways. Now, this is interesting. The Saudi led multinational maritime defense coalition, I'll give it to you again, multinational maritime defense coalition that the Saudis got involved in now, has spread to 15 nations. The intent of this is to protect the Red Sea shipping and energy routes. Saudi Arabia says 15 countries have joined us, have actually signed the joint statement, but only 13 have completed their national in other words, only 13 got their parliament or Congress or whatever they got to go through to approve it. and something else. Let's see, their national procedure signed and chartered and formally joined representatives from 39 countries attended the latest meeting. So a country attending the meeting doesn't mean they're in, okay? Most of these countries are gutless wonders. Separately, there is a much stronger mutual defense pact that's going on between Saudi, Turkey, and Pakistan. That is a much more, let's say, aggressive pact. But they're not doing beans about the Houthis attacking Saudi, are they? Nope. So there, those three countries, Saudi, Turkey, and Pakistan, are supposed to be doing like a NATO, all for one and one for all. And the Houthis are, generously attacking the Saudis, and, nothing's happening with the other countries. So it could be they just created a paper tiger with the hope of bluffing Iran, and it's a meaningless, absolutely meaningless trilogy they have. Okay, I don't know yet. It might be taking them time. They might say, well, before we attack, we're going to warn the Houthis, and we're going to warn Iran and negotiate with them, and all the bogus stuff to avoid bellying up to the bar and having a fight. Okay, the 15 countries apparently include Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Pakistan, and then we have Egypt, Jordan, Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, Sudan, Djibouti, Somalia. That's a shocker. The Pirates of Somalia. Bangladesh. Comoros. That's, I think, an island or something. Yemen. The real government of Yemen. Well, that's bogus. They're not going to do anything. Now, you probably didn't realize this, but it's important for you to understand that the UAE and Oman are not in this agreement, and that's because they made some sort of a deal with Iran. They threw their hat in the ring with Iran because they feel safer. Now, Iran got something out of them. Okay? Iran didn't just do it, okay? So they gave something up, believe me. I don't know what they gave up because this is all being kept very quiet. But they could be paying tolls to Iran. But that's going to be ugly. Let me tell you why. Because ships are going to start trying to come in and go out. And Iran lets them do it. And Trump's going to look at it and say, oh no, you're not allowed to make a deal with Iran. And he'll stop their ships. Otherwise, all of the countries are going to look at what UAE and Oman are doing, and they'll say, heck, Trump's worthless, let's go with Iran. So Trump has to stop their ships. And he can, and he will. And he'll do it because it's not going to go to war. What does he care? Ukraine war briefing, Zelensky warns Egypt of food supply threat caused by Russian strikes in the Black Sea. So he's trying to turn Egypt against Russia. Kiev, which is Ukraine, says exports to Egypt under threat from Russian attack. Moscow dismisses the idea of Black Sea ceasefire. What we know, that's what we know so far. So Egypt will thank Ukraine and say they'll take it into consideration, and they'll discuss it, and they'll do absolutely nothing about it. Or they might send a memo to Russia or call the Russian ambassador in. I mean, basically do nothing about it. The Egypt has a good-sized army, but they don't have modern missiles and aircraft and air defense systems. So they could be a threat to a country where they could roll in on their border, like Israel. But are they a threat to like America or Brazil or Ukraine? Nah, they can't. They can't handle a war far away from home. I don't believe it. Chief of Staff of the Iranian Army. If every Iranian soldier, if every, that's a typo, any Iranian soldier that manages to capture or kill an attacking American soldier, they will receive a reward of $30,000 from the Iranian public, which means the government. So Iran is saying to their soldiers, kill or capture an American that's boots on the ground in Iran, and you got $30,000, which is, if you live in a rural area in Iran, that's probably enough to buy yourself a 4 or 5 bedroom house with a little patch with an acre or 2 acres or something like that. I'm guessing, but that's probably what it would cost. It may be less even. There's 4,000 Turkish fighters in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. So Iraq is starting to get lit up more and more and more. It's getting pretty hot in Iraq. They're there, I'm pretty sure, to kill the Kurds. There's so much attention on killing the Kurds, and I don't know much about this, but I look at the Kurds, and they look like a lot of them look like they came out of my old neighborhood in the Bronx, which was 99.9% Jewish. So are they lost tribes? You tell me. I don't know. I have to say, it's a distinct possibility. But that's all I know. I don't know for sure. I don't know. It doesn't need to be that way. I don't know what's up with that, but it looks pretty interesting. There's a lot of attention. Now, the whole world's not really focusing on the Kurds. It seems that it's just Turkey. The U.S. isn't trying to wipe them out or anything. So it might just be the Kurds are some type of Arab group, and they are good fighters, and they're a threat to Turkey. They want to overthrow them or something, which is what I think the real reason is. Turkey has a lot of Kurds in Turkey and the nearby countries. See, if Turkey starts countering against Iran for the sake of Saudi Arabia, Turkey's got a big headache, because the border with Iran means Iran can launch really short-range garbage missiles into Turkey in massive amounts that are going to land all over the place. They won't penetrate very far in, though. and then they could use medium range missiles and get pretty deep in the country. Okay, and they could roll in with tanks. Turkey doesn't have such advanced tanks. The crazy thing today in the world is they have shoulder-fired anti-tank missiles that are highly effective. So Israel built systems years ago for them. One of the systems has radar on the tanks, and this is the older system, and it had like a shotgun, let's call it that, which had a cluster of very hard metal pellets. They're still in use. And when it could be an artillery shell, a mortar, a drone, or a missile of any type coming at the tank, the radar locks the shotgun onto the target and it fires these pellets at the shotgun. It's very effective. And they've got them on different parts of the tanks, so they might be in 4 places, I think, probably something like that. Well, they replaced the shotgun concept with a little missile. It's probably like this or something like this, maybe, I don't know. And it doesn't have to do much. It could just go kinetic, really, you know. But I think it does explode. And it gets a radar lock on the incoming projectile and fires this very fast missile at it and takes it out that way. In addition, the tanks have that armor on the outside that blows up. So it's not heavy metal plates, it's another type of armor that explodes when you hit it with something. So it stops the missile that way. Okay? It's pretty hard to sustain the explosion of this. Okay, then in addition to that, we have armor. So the tanks are reasonably well protected, the more modern ones. Listening to that, that's not a problem. That's a slow-moving jet. Doesn't mean anything. He's just taking his time. Okay, or she. We got women pilots on the fighter jets for quite a while right now. They're rather effective as actual. And of course, it's a real pleasure for the Muslim enemies, because if they get killed by a woman, they supposedly don't go to their paradise and they don't get their virgins. So it's like if you're playing Monopoly, killed by a female, don't go to paradise. Don't collect your 70 virgins. Okay. So the Iranian foreign minister, whatever the heck his name is, I can't pronounce these names. At this time, we have no intention of returning to negotiations with the United States. I believe it's today, or it might have been yesterday, Trump's 60-day memorandum of understanding expired. And does that mean Trump's going to attack Iran? Forget that. He's going to do more economic sanctions. But he's telling us that the new economic sanctions are unprecedented. And we have no idea what they are yet. But he said he'll be releasing them this week. And he will release them. And will they be good? They will be. Will they be effective completely against Iran? No, not in the least. No, Iran's always... But Iran can't move their oil. I mean, Trump really did it. You know, when I see Trump do something, you know, I give credit for what he did. And he did he did stop their flow of oil on ships. But they're moving with trucks. They bought a lot of trucks to move oil, but you can't move a lot of oil on trucks. But oil can be moved on trucks, okay? And they're using the trains, which maybe a whole train can amount to the amount of oil on a quite small oil tanker, okay? So if they could run 2 or 3 trains a week, which I'm not even sure they can get that many, and it's like 2 or 3 small oil tankers. So it's going to bring some money in, but not big time. Okay, they got a problem, and Trump wants to squeeze them, thinking that he's going to get them to make a deal. What he might get them to make is, you know, the bonsai attack is in World War II, when the Japanese would get surrounded and they knew it was over, and they basically had a few choices. They could sit there and be in their bunkers and get bombed and artillery and mortared, machine gunned, and eventually they'd run out of supplies and they'd, you know, die. I mean, they'd get weak and die. The other thing they could do would be a bonsai attack. They would just get together and run at the enemy with whatever weapons they had left. Okay, bayonets, rifles, machine gun, whatever they had, they'd charge the enemy. Okay, and the enemy would mow them down. But they felt it was more honorable for the sake of their ancestors to do this. And hopefully some of the guys would reach some of the American and British and Australian and New Zealand soldiers and kill a few or injure a few, but the bulk of them would die. And they were right. Every now and then one of them made it and, you know, maybe hurt a soldier in a you know, that dug himself a little foxhole or something, but it was minimal. Other times they didn't do that. They just they would get trapped in caves, which they liked, and then what they did is they just distributed hand grenades to everybody, and they just pulled the pin holding the hand grenade and then killed themselves. The shame. You know, there was a movie Tom Cruise did a long time ago about samurai. You know, he of course bloated himself up really big in it, but it was, you know, it was basically a movie about, you know, Japanese samurai and how great Tom Cruise's character is, you know. But there was a battle where samurai were fighting one of the Japanese army guys that had an army uniform on. He lost to the samurai, and he asked the leader of the samurai to help him commit harikari. So the guy said, sure. So the guy knelt down and took his harikari knife out and disemboweled himself, which is rather painful, and it's hard to force yourself to do that. And right after he disemboweled himself, the head of the samurai cut his head off. So, you know, the guy, the point of this is the guy surrendered, you know, killed himself because he lost the battle. You see, they're really very polite and honorable on the surface, but they're very mean and nasty people, in my opinion. Okay, they can be. Does that mean every single one is? No. Are there believers in Japan? I don't have any idea. I don't know. I don't know much about it. I really don't. I just know them from the martial arts, and I used to think that they were nice, but I realize now I was being fooled by their outward politeness. They're not. That's just an outward show. So anyway, the Iranian army, IRGC, is probably going to do something like that. If Trump really fixes their wagon economically and so forth, they're just going to come out fighting. But they might not. I think they're going to, when they do it, they're going to come out fighting before. And they're going to hit Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and all that stuff. They're going to go through there. Now, they're very mad at Qatar. They're saying Qatar has 3 of their pilots that had planes down. What the beginning of the war, Iran had, I don't know, 20 maybe or something like that, old jets. Some were flying. They might have had 30 or 40 old jets that were flyable, and they were trying to attack Qatar and I think Kuwait and stuff, and they downed the jets with the anti-aircraft system, and apparently the guys ejected, and they allegedly were captured. The Iranians are quite sure that the Qataris have them. Now, there's a thought, there's only, look, one theory is this is complete bogus and their pilots were dead and all that. I doubt that. The pilots, when they eject, they have a beacon thing, a radio thing, or they can talk on a walkie-talkie. They must have had communications from the pilots, and they knew that they were alive, okay? Now, what the optimum situation for the pilot, he ejects, he tries to get far away from his aircraft. Of course, the enemy will come usually with helicopters and find the aircraft, and then they'll put teams of soldiers down to catch the pilot. They want him for propaganda, they want him for intel, they want him for hostage exchange. They want him for a lot of reasons, okay? They don't want the public killing him with pitchforks. They want him. So he's got to get away from there and hide somewhere. And he's going to call home and tell them where he is, and hopefully they send something to pick him up. Now, the Iranians don't have a network like America does to do that. And they don't have helicopters they're going to be able to send into Qatar that are not going to get shot down, so they probably were trying to make contact with Iranian agents or Iranian soldiers or government people undercover or whatever in Iran to come get these guys, get them in an embassy, and keep them in the embassy, give them medical, and then eventually try to get them out of the embassy somehow. Or, that's probably what they would do. Okay. So now the Iranians want to send a team of people there to go to Qatar and investigate stuff in Qatar. Now, I don't understand how stupid this is. Because if Qatar has them and they're lying, all they got to do is put them in some military stockade somewhere, where they got some cells, and just put them in the cells, and, what are the Iranians going to do? They're not going to travel all around Qatar looking at every military. Maybe they will. Qatar doesn't have that much. I don't know. And they warned Qatar and said if there's any delay and you don't let our people come in and this and that, you're going to have a price to pay. Qatar's not letting them come in, as far as I know. And they're likely going to get a big attack from Iran. Now, Iran may start going boots on the ground in these countries. The fact that they're offering the $30,000 reward for every dead or captured American soldier lends great credence to the rumors that Trump's going to be working on the ground in Iran soon. He will be, but I don't think he's going to do a general invasion and occupation because he doesn't have anywhere near the amount of soldiers to even consider anything like that. He could send soldiers in for strikes, and it's in and out. You drop them with a helicopter, or they parachute in, or whatever. They strike, and then you extract them. You can't stay there and occupy. Now he might try occupying Karg Island, Kharg, which is the island that Iran fills the tanker ships up with oil. It has a pipeline coming from refineries. It's 15 miles offshore. Now, could Trump capture that easily? How does that work? Well, you send F-15s and F-16s in to bomb anything that looks worth bombing. And that could be for a few days, right? And then you also have A-10 Warthogs flying around, mowing down enemy when they see them. In addition to Apache helicopters flying around, mowing down. They got a similar Gatling gun to the A-10 Warthog, except it's probably 20 millimeter, not a 30 millimeter. But for anti-personnel, for crying out loud, a 30 caliber works. I mean, 50 is what they usually would run on a helicopter, because a 50 can, you can knock walls down with 50. You can penetrate buildings. You can rip cars and vehicles up. If you got armor-piercing 50 caliber rounds, you could get some of these old, USSR era tanks ripped up too. So that's pretty potent. But I think the helicopters, the Apaches, are probably running a 20 millimeter gun, which is extremely deadly. Okay, and it goes so fast it doesn't go. It's like, it's like really fast. You just tap the trigger and you get 8 or 10 rounds or something like that. 8 or 10 rounds would rip up a go-fast boat, would rip up most vehicles. It's, armored personnel carriers would probably get ripped up because they'd use armor-piercing rounds, and So yeah, he could shred the enemy. If they're dug in the ground, it's an island. How deep can they go? Not real deep. In an island, I don't think you could go down that far. Maybe they could get in 20 feet or something, But we'll see what happens. I'm sure they're going to have intelligence photos of what it looks like before the attack and then after the attack, and they probably have a pretty good idea of what targets they want to destroy. Look, America is perfectly technically capable of doing it. Then they'll put some sort of special forces in there to hold it, but maybe not special forces, maybe just expeditionary Marines, which are very, very confident in holding that. They're very, but Trump's got to make sure they don't get killed from Iranian missiles launched at Karg Island. How does he do that? Well, not easily. Not easily. So that's why he's been hesitant to do that. He would need patriots on the island, and I don't know how he's going to get them there when the soldiers are there. It's a tough thing. It's not so simple. If you don't care about losing your soldiers, it's easy. That as they get killed, you just bring new ones in. That was the Vietnam psychology, But they don't really want to do that. Trump's not into that. Okay. So they're just making it very plain, because the 60-day memorandum of understanding just expired. They're making it very plain that they have no interest in negotiating with Trump, because they're trying to cut Trump off at the pass, so Trump can't say, well, it looks very encouraging, we're going to sit down with them and negotiate. They're saying we're not even talking to them. According to negotiations between Iran and Oman, um, the southern route near Oman will be canceled. Uh, all cargo ships will need to coordinate with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Uh, Most ships have been careful to pass through the Iranian route while transiting the Straits of Hormuz. So they were taking what was called the Oman route. Oman's on the south side of the Persian Gulf, but it's not in the Persian Gulf, it's outside of it, really, near the exit. So the the ships would take that route, which is furthest away from Iran, and now Oman is apparently cooperating with Iran and not wanting to let ships take that. So what? How does Oman stop that? Nobody told us. It's basically, they could get missile launches from Iran, anti-ship missiles, and fire at the ships. Then they're going to start getting attacked by Trump. The other thing they could do is notify Iran, and then Iran could try to go after the ship. That's about the only thing I know. The third option does exist, and that's lay naval mines, and they would probably do that because America probably would not attack them physically with bombs if they just laid naval mines. So there could be other options, but I don't know what they are. This is from the Chief of Staff of the Iranian Army. Now it's a new message. The withdrawal of the United States has been effectively realized, getting America to pull out. Well, let's keep reading. And they no longer have any authorization to enter the Persian Gulf. So Iran is saying America can't enter the Persian Gulf. This is getting good. This is the rat that roared, not the mouse, the rat. The Sea of Oman or the Strait of Hormuz. So the Americans can't be in the Persian Gulf, the Sea of Oman, which is right outside the Persian Gulf, or the Strait of Hormuz. And everyone must understand that the American bases will not be able to return to their previous state in any way, and Iran will never allow it. So we have heard that at least several of these American bases are severely busted up, okay? Now, from what the Iranians are saying, is the bases are not usable, or they're not fully functional. They may be partially usable, and they're not going to let them repair them, because if the Americans repair them, they'll just re-attack them again. I do believe this. So they're making a case for Trump pulling out of the Middle East, but they're basically saying we forced a limited withdrawal by destroying their bases. And that could be why the UAE and Oman went to Iran, because the UAE saw the bases in the UAE destroyed. And also in the other countries that the American bases were destroyed, and they no longer have confidence in the Americans. The General Staff of the Iranian Armed Forces, this is a new message again, said on Sunday, today's Monday, that Tehran would, that's the capital, not back down until the U.S. Israeli enemies are defeated, according to a statement carried by the state-run press outlet. So they're still gunning for Israel. But they don't want to attack us because they know that Netanyahu will immediately attack, and he won't want to stop. He'll keep going. A campaign billboard. You see, Netanyahu would likely start blowing up their water desalination plants and their electrical grid. He wouldn't care. That makes the end come quicker. But we did see yesterday that Iran is probably going to be in the attack against the daughter of Babylon. So that means they're likely going to go down afterward. Now, there is a weird thing you have to consider. They could have thousands of Iranian soldiers as sleeper agents in America, and the country of Iran could go down, and the sleeper agents could still do the attack. Not very likely, because there'd be no coordination, but possible. A campaign billboard notes that the leaders of Iran, Turkey, and Hezbollah, as well as the mayor of New York City, all want Netanyahu to lose the upcoming election, and urges Israel voters don't give them what they want. Well, they're dreaming. The amount of liberals in Israel that want to play nice with Hamas after what they did, and with Hezbollah after what they did, is, maybe 10% of the country, not real likely to happen. Now we go to Hamas and Kushner, the nepotism guy that's married to Trump's so-called daughter, pushes Hamas to start disarming despite Israel's rejection of the plan. Okay, Israel's rejecting this plan that Trump dreamed up. Now, remember, Trump's plans in the Middle East have failed at the rate of 100%. Okay, never did any of them work now. He's total failure. So this is news that's leaked from Al Jazeera News, coming from a Palestinian source, as to what was going on with Kushner and Hamas delegation, which I believe met in Egypt. Kushner clarified to Hamas leadership that the U.S. opposes any plan to expel residents of the Gaza Strip. We want those people there again so they could rise up and kill the Jews again. Now, he's not going to say that, but he's the village idiot if he doesn't understand that's likely to happen. Okay. Uh, he doesn't want to see Israel get more land and fulfill prophecy. That's another factor going on. Kushner informed the Hamas leadership that Trump views the disarmament of the factions as a fundamental step that must be carried out before any other step in the Gaza Strip. So Trump is sticking to what Netanyahu wants. Before anything happens, they got to disarm. But disarming is not putting the guns in a warehouse somewhere where they could get them back again. That's idiotic. Kushner advised the Hamas leadership not to pin hopes on the results of the election in Israel. This was very smart. Kushner emphasized that Israel is united in the position regarding the Gaza Strip. Well, about 90% probably. Kushner told the Hamas delegation that Washington would promote a political track that would not exclude anyone in the Gaza Strip after disarmament. That means what? A political track, so that would mean that Hamas could still run Gaza, which Israel is completely opposed to, because it's just going to mean there's going to be another attack again. Look, we're sitting here saying in a year, or maybe 9 months even, or 6 months, or 18 months, they're going to rise up. If Hamas is there, going to rise up and attack us again. Egypt's going to let them smuggle weapons in again with tunnels. It's going to happen, okay? And they're going to get weapons and they're going to come attack us again. So we want to get rid of them once and for all. Okay, would Israel settle for just getting rid of Hamas? Yes. But getting rid of Hamas means they're dead or they're out of Gaza. Forget the no weapons. Of course, no weapons, but we want to get rid of them also. So would we give them a pass and not put them in jail for their horrible crimes and just let them go? Yeah. Now, since we covered this yesterday, and it's likely the same caliber of person's going to be attacking the daughter of Babylon, I just want to review with you what you're dealing with these people, because you believers will be getting out, and I don't want you to hesitate. They raped women and men, both, right? I'm talking homosexual rape, in front of their families. Okay? They had the woman undress, and they would gang rape her in front of the children and the husband. Okay. Then they would kill them. They would kill the children in front of the parents, or kill the parents in front of the children. They killed the children. You know, they were doing all this stuff. They cut a baby out of the woman when she was alive, pulled her baby out of her. Of course, the baby and her were dead. They put a baby in an oven. There's several instances they took women and children, tied them together with baling wire and burned them alive in a car, not in a car, put gasoline or kerosene on them and burned them. Burned people alive in their houses. People went into safe rooms. The safe rooms are bulletproof. They couldn't get them in the safe rooms, so they just burned the whole place. They massacred the people at this concert for peace. They massacred them. There were bodies laying all over the place. It looked like Jim Jones and the Kool-Aid, except it was bullets. So, guys, that's what they're about. Okay? And there's no difference. They're all the same. Okay? So Kushner was smart in telling him the elections aren't going to change anything. Kushner emphasized then Kushner told Hamas delegation that Washington, we covered that, okay. Kushner clarified to the Hamas delegation that the integration of the movement into political activity would not be possible before the complete disarmament of the Gaza Strip. So he's letting them control politics. Again, you see, Trump is lousy, okay? That's why Netanyahu put his foot down on it and said, no, we don't support this plan. See, the Arabs want this plan because they'll help build Gaza up again to get Israel. They want to get rid of Israel. What's going to happen if they ever did get rid of Israel, which they never will? What would happen is they would just start killing each other then. They'd have no scapegoat to go after, and they would start killing each other, which they're already doing. Iran's doing it, the Houthis are doing it. It happened in Syria, they're killing Muslims, Druze, whatever, Alawites. Okay, 8 Arab Islamic nations accuse Israel of derailing Trump's Gaza peace plan. In a joint statement, the countries accused Israel of undermining efforts to fully end the war with Hamas in Gaza and derailing Trump's push to cement conditions necessary for a long-term work. Okay, so 8 of these Arab nations are upset because they want Hamas to stay in charge. You see, the disarmament, it's a nice word, disarmament, but what does it mean? And part of disarmament means, according to Netanyahu, is we want a map of all the tunnels. And if we don't get the map, you're not disarmed. And they want to destroy all the tunnels. Otherwise, there's going to be 25,000 weapons in the tunnels or something like that, right? So we don't know what kind of disarmament Kushner's talking about. If it's if you're talking about machine guns, all you got to do is build another tunnel to Egypt, and 4 or 5 40-foot trucks come in with AK-47s, and now they've all got machine guns again. Machine guns, you could put thousands of them in a truck, or maybe you need 8 trucks or something. Not that much. But they want missiles to attack Israel. Hamas says it will only begin disarming if Netanyahu publicly commits to the plan, says the diplomat. Well, see, why are they saying that? Because the election for Netanyahu's prime ministership is October 27th. And we're in August, and Netanyahu is never going to come out and commit to the plan, because the plan means Israel's going to have to deal with Hamas all over again down the road. Why should we go through that? Why should our soldiers get killed and wounded again? Why should we have to spend billions of dollars doing it? We got them now. Finish them off. But Netanyahu is weak. People just think he's tough. He's weak. You know, it doesn't matter if we know where the tunnels are or not. If we know where they are, which it seems we do, and we just blow them up, it's over. So Netanyahu's never going to do that. It's just a trap for Netanyahu. They do think that they're going to get another prime minister that's going to make a deal with them they can take advantage of. You know, they've been promising us that they want to do another October 7th massacre in Israel. They're heroes in their religious fanaticism world for what they did. You know, and not only this, they're also escaping punishment for the rapes, the murder, the kidnapping, taking civilian hostages. Raping is a war crime. Murdering children and women together, burning them alive, cutting babies out of women, putting babies in, that's all war crimes. Okay, taking hostages is war crimes. Raping hostages is war crimes. So they're escaping all the war crimes. Trump won't persecute them. Not only that, Trump is letting these bizarre criminals run Gaza again. You see why Trump is not God's friend? He's more or less God's enemy. He is God's enemy. And he's proud of it. He won't tell you that, but he'll tell his Satan bot buddies that. They don't understand recompenses or the day of vengeance. They don't think it's ever going to happen. They think it's something that God prophesied, and then when they killed Yeshua, you know, they won. Well, we know that's poppycock. Tomorrow, the 60 days. Okay, so the ceasefire was over today. And Trump, they asked him what's going on with the 60-day ceasefire coming to an end. And Trump basically said new economic sanctions of an incredibly tough level are going to be unprecedented, he said, are going to be imposed on Iran, and the details will come out this week. Well, I will admit that Treasury Secretary he's got seems to be a rather creative person, and can dream up pretty good economic sanctions. I think he's probably going to come up with something pretty good. Trump and them is saying the naval blockade is in effect, and even the Iranians admit that the naval blockade is having an impact on them. And the Americans are talking like we could keep the naval blockade going forever, you know. This is interesting. The Russian Shadow Fleet tankers. These are the tankers that are under the sanctions against Russia that are going around selling oil to keep Russia going. In order to prevent them from being attacked, let me read this. The sanctioned tankers Caruso and Roosevelt were observed equipped with metal structures, nets, and water tanks designed to protect them from Ukrainian drones. Russia is also reinforcing its defense systems at the port of Novorosso, whatever it protect, whatever it is. So this is interesting. To protect the ships from Ukrainian drones, they're putting all kinds of structures on the uh, the ship um, that the drones can't penetrate. So steel structures could mean that they're running pipes with you know you know close to each other, so that if the drone tries to come and hit the ship, it'll hit the pipes, and the pipes could be 15 feet over the ship. So there'll be shrapnel, but the damage to the ship would be minimalistic. It certainly would probably not cause it to catch fire or sink. Nets is another thing. They put metal nets on. They put them on poles, so it's rather high up. So the drone comes and it hits the net and it blows up, or it just gets stuck in the net, whatever. Usually it'll blow up, and it doesn't do anything to the ship because it's many feet away. See, the bombs in drones are not, normally, a 2,000-pound bomb or anything like that. They're not on the huge side. So I'm sure a 2,000-pound bomb would blow the net up, and the impact might hurt the boat, but probably not sink it or destroy it. You got to have contact with the explosion. You can't have an explosion like 15 feet away and cause a lot of damage. They don't have a 2,000-pound bomb in the drone. They're probably 1 to 300 pounds, something like that. So it's not that big a deal. And they're putting these structures maybe on the sides of the boat. They're putting poles, metal poles, so you can't access it by going below them. They might be able to control the drone and drive it into the deck of the boat under the net from the side, so the metal structures might be like a cage on the side of the boat. So the drones hit the side of the boat. Now, what if they steer the drones into the side of the boat? I don't know. And when we're talking about water tanks, what they might have done is on the decks of the boat, they might put a water tank. So if they manage to hit the deck, they hit the water tank, and the water tank absorbs the blast. I don't know exactly what they're doing, and it's probably fluid. They probably change it around every few days or every week or month or whatever as needed, but they're protecting themselves from the drones effectively. The Russians were putting structures over their tanks to protect from drones and artillery and stuff like that. They put it on poles, and they'd have like a steel, like a mesh, but with a secure steel. So when the drone would come down and try to hit the tank up at the top where the turret is and everything, where it's the weakest, it would hit this metal structure and blow up, probably 3-4 feet from the tank. Tanks are pretty sturdy. The blast isn't going to hurt them. If it's the explosion's a few feet away, it's not going to make a hole in the tank. So they were doing that. So they're getting cute with that. So instead of having a system like Israel has with radar where they attack the incoming projectile, they're just armoring the whatever they want to protect better. It's pretty clever. The commander of the Iranian Air and Space Forces of the IRGC has threatened Qatar over this. I covered that with the pilots, and I don't believe Qatar is going to host them. I don't believe it's going to be a satisfactory situation, and I would be shocked if Qatar coughs up the pilots after they've been saying they don't have them. What are they going to say? Oh, we found out we did have them and nobody told us. I'm sorry. Yeah, you could have them back. What do you want to do? You want to come get them? You want us to send them there? Well, so I'm not, I'm thinking that they're gonna, put Qatar back on the top of their list of countries to attack, like they did Kuwait. They'll hit Qatar. I'm pretty sure that's going to come, unless somehow those pilots materialize, and it doesn't look like they will. And as long as Iran is running around saying, what pilots? We don't have the pilots. There is a thought there that the pilots were shot down in Qatar and turned over to American forces for intel, and America has them somewhere, planning to use them for prisoner swaps in case they lose a pilot. However, I think at this point America would open up and say, we have them. Since America did not open up and say we have them, I don't think America has. These people are bad in Gaza. They had several women, quite a few women as hostages, and most of them are dead. Never came back. And what we heard from the other hostages is they were getting, raped constantly every day. Getting raped day by day. Okay, let's take a look at the live stream, and then we'll get into the Bible work. We'll do Isaiah 47. Well, I don't have much activity in the live stream here. Okay, that's all right. And I'm going to, we'll do two things. We'll do Isaiah 47 to start with, and then I'm going to show you from Ezekiel that all the believers are in Israel physically and spiritually. Not yet physically, but very shortly. You'll see it. You'll have no trouble believing it whatsoever. What's going on here? I think oh no, I'm right. I got it right. Okay. Isaiah 47 is not a very big chapter, but it's very concise and clear as a bell. Okay. So I'm going to be doing this not from the King James and all their mistakes or the other uh, Bibles published by the Christian publishing houses. There's many Bibles out there that are not published by the Christian publishing houses. They will only publish a Bible if it meets the doctrines of the denominational churches. That's the only time. Otherwise, they're afraid they'll get blacklisted from the churches, or they won't sell because people will say it's no good, don't buy it, and that kind of thing. But there's a lot of Bibles out there that are good, okay? So what I'm doing here is I'm working with the Leningrad Codex, which goes back to 900 AD. It's the oldest Masoretic text, or Hebrew Old Testament, that we have. And I'm working also as a counter to that, just to get a balance, from what's called Codex Vaticanus from 300 AD. But it has nothing to do with the Catholic Church, because there was no Catholic Church when this was created. Okay, it's that old. 300 AD. Okay, the churches started perhaps around 350, 400 AD. With Constantine, and they weren't Catholic churches yet either. They just stole the name Vatican from Vaticanus. You know, who cares? Okay, so this is the fragments that were remaining from the original Septuagint, written in 250 BC, before Yeshua came. So that's probably 500-600 years old. From the time of the Septuagint, much older now. So we got using the original Septuagint, which is the Greek, from the Hebrew to the Greek, and we're also using the oldest Hebrew. So we got a very good blend, and I use AI to help me with the translations, and I have AI programmed so it will not do any churchianity translation or use any churchianity translation tools, doctrines, or anything like that. It's more of a raw English translation, so it doesn't have the bias, you just get the meaning of it, okay? And between the Greek and the Hebrew put into English together, we get a very, very firm grasp on what's really being said. And the King James has thousands of errors, many of, on purpose, in my mind. Okay, so Isaiah 47, verse 1. Go down and sit in the dust, virgin daughter of Babylon. Now, it's reading Babylon, but in the Hebrew it actually says Babel. The old Babylon never really existed in the Bible as Babylon. It existed as Babel. And Babel is a word that means confusion. And the old Babylon existed, or the old Babel, around where Iraq is today. Okay? So obviously there is no Babel today. Okay? So it's saying, again, it's referring to it as a daughter of Babel. In other words, the same unclean spirits that were running the original Babel are running America. That's what it's meaning, okay? Sit on the ground without a throne, daughter of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans were the occupants of old Babel, or old Babylon, that were witches and soothsayers, fortune tellers, astrologers, garbage like that, and that's what America is about. Where are the unclean spirits? Where are they working in America? Well, all the government leaders are Satan bots. All the heads of industry are Satan bots, and they're running everything with witchcraft. One of the biggest companies in America is Amazon, and they sell fraudulent products all the time. I kid you not. Just with flashlights, there's people there for years doing this. There's a whole groups of people that are flashlight aficionados. Okay, they collect flashlights, and they're into them. Yeah, these are usually geeks, engineering students, and stuff like that. And Amazon has fraudulent sellers selling flashlights with 1 million, 2 million, power, uh, lumen they call it, and uh, no flashlight has that much lumen, and they sell it. And if it did, it would be this big, be that thick, and it would heat up so much. If you touched it, you'd probably get a blister. You know, it's a lot, and it would cost thousands of dollars. And they're selling for $20, $30, and there's many things they sell on Amazon that are fraud. Okay, many things, and that's one of the biggest companies in the United States, and nobody does anything about it because they're connected. Okay, nobody does anything about it. Okay, the cartoons, the movies, those are all witchcrafts in there, sorceries associated with it. The TV shows, what they put on there, all this stuff is satanic. You know. Okay, so you no longer have a throne, so that means this is America. It's defeated, and the daughter, the female Statue of Liberty, the woman statue on the roof of the Capitol building. What do you think it is? What's the name of the woman that is the Statue of Liberty? Her name is Columbia. You look at the Columbia motion pictures icon, there she is, holding the light. Come to me, I have the light, I know the way, right? On, raised up on a pedestal. And it's something that looks like a woman, but it's flat chested. So I don't even know what it is. What gender is it? I don't know. It looks like a woman, though. I don't know what it is. I don't even care. And it goes on and says, "For you shall no longer be called tender and delicate." Verse 2, take upper millstones. Let's read the Greek. Take a millstone, upper millstones. I don't know what an upper millstone is. You got me there. And grind flour, uncover your veil. Let's read the Greek. Grind meal, remove your veil. Strip off the train. It says uncover your gray hairs. That is interesting in the Greek. Then it says in the Hebrew, it says strip off the train. I don't know. Maybe that's the thing you have that drags on the floor behind you when you walk or something. I don't know. Bare the leg. They both say bare the leg. Cross over the rivers. Pass through the rivers. So that's like what poor people do, They walk through the river, they're not finding another way around it or something. No bridge. Okay. It says your nakedness shall be uncovered. Also your shame shall be seen. Now I'm going to be careful. Remember I told you the Columbia motion pictures icon looks like a woman but it's flat-chested? Okay. Your nakedness will be exposed and it'll be your shame. You could imagine what kind of crisscross transactional thing is going on here. Okay. I will take vengeance. Okay, let's go with the Greek. Your shame shall be uncovered. Your reproaches shall be made manifest. I will take justice from you. I will no longer hand you over to humans. I will no longer hand you over to humans. Okay, let's read the Hebrew. Your nakedness shall be uncovered, also your shame shall be seen. You see, the shame of the nakedness goes beyond that. What they're representing themselves to be is now shown to not be the case. It's something opposite. Also your shame shall be seen. That's how I'm interpreting it, okay? I will take vengeance and I will not meet any human. I think I don't get what he's no longer hand you over to you. He's going to take care of it. He's going to finish this thing off, I guess. He's not going to meet this thing like a man. He's going to meet it like a God. Okay, verse 4. Our Redeemer, so now you should be thinking the time of the year of redemption, right? Okay, it's a clue. Knock, knock, Redeemer. Okay, our Redeemer, Jehovah of hosts, is his name, is the Holy One of Israel. Now, do you know the verses in the Bible where God's referred to as the Holy One of the churches? If you know any verses like that, let me know. Because me and all the people I know have never found one verse that says that. All churches shall be saved. Oh no, it says all Israel shall be saved in Romans 11. But, people, they don't care what the Bible says, they care what their pastor says. Sit in silence and go into darkness, daughter of the Chaldeans, okay, descendant of the witches. For you shall no longer be called the mistress of kingdoms. So that's America. The great voice, the hammer of the whole earth, that's America. Verse 6. I was angry with my people. I profaned my inheritance. His inheritance is Israel. Let's read the Greek. I was provoked to anger against my people. You defiled my inheritance. I gave them into your hand, but you showed them no mercy upon the elderly. You made your yoke very heavy. Okay. He let the Israelites live in America. Okay. Of course, we can talk about the North American Indians, which are likely lost tribes, but let's talk about the 6.5 million known Israelites, Jews, living in America now without the lost tribes. We don't know how many lost tribesmen there are there. I suspect in more millions. But there's practically the same amount of known Jews in America as there are in Israel. Okay? So how do you make this apply to Mecca or Medina or the Vatican? The Vatican, I think, has 200 or 300 people living there, and there's not any Jews in there. That's it. That's all the Vatican is. It's not a country. It doesn't have cities. And Mecca and Medina don't have cities. They are cities, and they're located in the desert. They don't have any Jews there, and they're not surrounded by water. And they're not the hammer of the whole earth. They're not the great voice. Who listens to Saudi Arabia? Who listens to the Vatican? Although it can't be the Vatican, But who listens to the Vatican? Do the Buddhists, there's a billion of them, no. A billion Muslims, no, they don't listen. Okay? Um, the the Pentecostal and nominal churches, they don't listen. The atheists, the communists, they don't listen. The Hindus don't listen. Only the Catholics listen. So come on, it's not the great force. So we'll finish reading this same verse in the Hebrew. I was angry from the Hebrew. I was angry with my people. I profaned my inheritance, and I gave them into your hand. You showed them no mercy. Upon the aged you made your yoke very heavy. And you said, forever I shall be mistress. And the Greek is, and you said, I shall be a ruler forever. See, the pride of the demons. You did, this is, not per se a demon, it's something special. You did not take these things to your heart, nor did you remember the outcome of it. You see, this is an allegorical discourse, as I'll show you when we're done. Verse 8. And now hear this, luxurious one, dwelling in security, saying in her heart, I am and there is none besides me. See, that's America. I am and there is none beside me. That's America, okay? And in the Greek it says, but now hear this, luxurious one, who sits at ease, who is confident, who says in her heart, I am and there is no other. I shall not sit as a widow, nor shall I know childlessness. Is that a word? Childlessness? I've never heard anybody use that as a word, but okay. And the Hebrew is, and now hear this, luxurious one. That's because they have all the finer things, the rich do. The ones running America, the one running America. Okay. Dwelling in security, saying in her heart, I am and there is none besides me. I shall not sit as a widow, nor know the loss of children. Now we're in verse 9, Isaiah 47, verse 9. But these two things shall come to you in a moment. Now, the destruction of the daughter of Babylon, America, is fast, in a day, in a moment. Okay. It says, come to you in a moment. In one day, loss of children and widowhood. Widow means your husband is gone. It's, I believe, playing on the phrase married to the land. She thinks she's married to the land of America, but the land is gone, taken from her. She's not Islam. This is a different thing. This is churchianity. That's what the whore is. She represents, that's her religion, not Islam. It appears that Islam moves in and communism moves in. But now these two things shall come upon you suddenly, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon you suddenly in your sorcery, in the strength of your enchantments very much. That I don't understand. Let's read the Hebrew. Widowhood, and then says, in their full measure they shall come upon you despite the abundance of your sorceries, despite the great power of your spells. You see, that makes sense. For you trusted in your wickedness. You said, no one sees me. In other words, they think they're doing their wickedness, their witchcraft, spells and secrets, and nobody sees them. Boy, they're wrong about that. Your wisdom and your knowledge, it led you astray. And you said in your heart, I am, and there is none besides me. That's America, none besides me. But now let's read this in the Hebrew, in the Greek. By the hope of your wickedness you said, I am, and there is no other. Know that the understanding of these things and your sorcery shall be your shame. And you said in your heart, I am, and there is no other. But disaster shall come upon you. You shall not know its dawn. You're not going to know when it comes. Now, if disaster's coming on us suddenly in an hour, in a day, it lends itself to sleeper agents, because if they were coming on ships, America would have notice of days before they came and would attack the ships. If they were coming on aircraft, America would know hours before and send fighters up to attack them in the sky before they got to America. But if they were already in America as sleeper agents, then it could happen suddenly in a day, in an hour, couldn't it? Shall not know its dawn. You're not going to know where it starts. Okay, the Greek is, and destruction shall come upon you, and you shall not know a pit. That's what it says. And you shall fall into it. Oh, they fall into a pit. That's the snare, basically, I think. Okay. And in the Hebrew, it's shall come upon you. You shall not know its dawn. Ruin shall fall upon you. You shall not be able to charm it. You shall not be able to charm it away. The witchcraft won't work. Desolation shall come upon you suddenly. See, there it is, suddenly, which you shall not know. See, desolation coming suddenly. Now, could it be hundreds of thousands of missiles coming? Yeah, but it's unlikely. I don't believe they can cross the oceans with missiles. If they did have any, they'd have very few, I think. And misery shall fall upon you, and you shall not be able to be clean. And destruction shall come upon you suddenly, and you shall not know. Let me just read you, well, yeah, let me get this for you. It's one verse, but let me get it translated. Now I'm going to do Revelation 17, the last verse. And the woman whom you saw is the great city that holds dominion over the kings of the earth. Now, that is Washington, D.C. It's called District of Columbia. Columbia is the whore. That's your Statue of Liberty. And the capital of the United States is not in any of the 50 states. It's called the District of Columbia. It's a district, and it's named after Columbia. And that's the whore. That's your Statue of Liberty. That's the statue on top of the Capitol. It's, you know, it's a graven image. They worship it, you know. Okay. Let me see where we left off. Verse 12, stand now with your spells and with the abundance of your sorceries in which you have labored from your youth. That goes, what does that mean? George Washington the Mason, the first president. Ben Franklin the Mason. It goes right back to the beginning. Perhaps you may be able to profit. Perhaps you may cause terror. In the Greek it says, the abundance of your sorceries, which you learned from your youth. See, right back to the Masons in the beginning. If you can be profited, you know, he's making fun of him and saying, maybe you can get over this, that what I'm laying on you, maybe you can overcome it, which they can't. You are wearied with the abundance of your counselors, of your counsels, for let them Stand up now and save you. Those who divide the heavens, who gaze at the stars, who announce at the new moons what will come upon you. Okay? They're trying to predict the future from looking at the stars. It's called astrology. It's demonic. Behold, they are like stubble. They're like stubble. Okay? Fire burns them. They cannot deliver their lives from the hand of the flame. There is no coal for warming oneself, no fire to sit before. They have no fire to warm them. Probably a shortage of supplies to burn, fuel to burn, and yet they're going to be destroyed by fire. I will kindle fires in and about your cities. There it is, the scripture, you know. Thus they shall be to you with whom you have labored, your traders from your youth. Each wanders in his own direction. There is no one to save you. Nobody's coming to help America, no allies. Okay? That's the destruction. Now, I told you I would promise to show you verses that you are in Israel spiritually, and you will be, as believers, incorporated into physical Israel. I am in the book of Ezekiel, chapter 47, verse 21, the last three verses of Ezekiel 47. I will read. So you shall divide this land for yourselves, according to the tribes of Israel. So this is after the next great Exodus is complete. Okay? Verse 22. And it shall be that you shall allot it as an inheritance for yourselves, for the Israelites, and for the resident aliens. That's the non-Israelites that are resident, that are living with you. Okay? Those are the believers. Who else do you think it is? Who sojourned, who traveled with you, lived with you, among you, who have fathered children among you, and they shall be to you as native born among the children of Israel. With you they shall fall into an inheritance in the midst of the tribes of Israel. It's saying these aliens, these foreigners, these strangers, these non-Israelite born that are living here fathering children. So like I told you, recompenses, we read in the King James deceitfully, it says, year of recompenses over the controversy of Zion. The controversy means the fighting about Zion. The nations don't want Israel. Okay, God does. Israel wants Israel to be ahead of the nations. Under him, the nations want everything to continue with Satan running things. Okay, they're stupid. All right, so the Shanat is what it's for the year, and that's not a 360-day year. It's a prophetic period of time. So redemption, the Shanat of redemption is not a year of redemption, it's a prophetic period of time. So it might be 3 or 4 years, this redemption, till all the Jews get here. But we're not going to divide the land to people until all of them are here, otherwise they wouldn't get their inheritance. And that's wrong. So this is sometime, the redemption had been running a while when this happens, but God is very firm that the non-Israelite gets an equal share of the land. And let's keep reading. Verse 23, and it shall be that in the tribe in which the resident alien sojourns, that means the tribe he came over here with and is living with, you shall give his inheritance, declares the Lord. And it shall be that in the Greek in which the stranger is among them, there you shall give them an inheritance, says the Lord. So, the Greek in the previous verse, let's read that. It shall be that you shall cast the lot upon it for an inheritance for yourselves and for the strangers sojourning in the midst of you, who have begotten children in the midst of you, and they shall be to you as native born among the children of Israel. So they are to be treated just like native born Israelites, so that all Israel shall be saved. Now, if you can't get this, I don't know what more I can do to help you. It's so crystal clear that if you're a believer, I mean, what do you think? These are non-believers coming over here that God's telling them you've got to treat these people worshiping statues of women with 8 arms and all this other stuff. You've got to treat them, like your own people, and well, that doesn't make any sense. Okay. So these are the believers. God wouldn't be telling us to incorporate heathens and Satanists into our midst. Hold on a second. Somebody writes me a message calling me Oleg. Huh. I never knew my name was Oleg. Okay. It was an ad, I don't know what they were up to, but it's so plain and obvious, okay? Does the church teach this? No. People get mad. They unsubscribe because I tell them the church doesn't teach this. Why doesn't the church teach this? Because they want themselves to be the center of your attention, not Israel. Okay? That's why they don't teach you who the daughter of Babylon is. They want you focused on the church, not Israel. But you are Israel, yet they don't want you to know it, so they want you focusing on the church, which is not going to take you where you want to go. You're not going to get to heaven practicing and teaching and preaching and following another gospel. You got to follow the true gospel. You can't do it the other way. They're all messed up. Do I think there might be some confused people when Yeshua appears and they find themselves with everlasting life? Yeah, it could happen. They just didn't know any better. Maybe they were brand new believers, or I don't know what. I mean, it could happen. Broad and wide is the road to destruction, and many find it. Straight and narrow is the correct path, and few find it. Okay? So I think next, what we're probably gonna go after is Ezekiel 37, the dry bones, and cover that because you need preparation for that. So I think that's what I'll do, but subject to what the Lord says. I didn't check with him, but I think that'll be okay. I think that's where I was led. But anyway, let's take a look at the live stream. We are running, we are run by offerings, by the way. PayPal is in the chat. You can read it there. It's also in the description box under the video. Let me read the postings if there's any prayer requests or something I need to do. Yeah, I know there's no good time for me to do this. What is somebody saying? Okay, don't Donald Trump, MAGA, America, evil, red friends. I don't understand that, but that's okay. I don't know what somebody wants. It's Casio. Okay, so fascinating, but there you go. All right, let's do a prayer. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, I pray for me and my wife and all the true believers to have your peace, safety, protection, joy, calm, rest, and shalom peace. I pray we have your strength, stamina, and endurance, your healing and recuperative power flowing through us, healing us as needed. And I pray for all our animals and pets and ourselves to be safe, secure, happy, healthy, and whole. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I pray for those of us that need a place to live, jobs, or those of us that need clients and customers for our business to find all these things, and they would be good. I pray we all have adequate finances and then some extra. And I pray we all understand the scriptures better and that I could do better videos and live streams. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach. One more time, please pray for Mommy Dog to be healthy, happy, and whole. She's pretty good today, but I think she still needs to be riding on the prayers. We've got to push her through this to the end of it. So she's very good right now, but please keep the prayers going. And I really thank you for that. And sometimes I ride on your prayers, I feel. Okay, thank you. And okay, for the well, I could do a prayer. We can agree. My Heavenly Father, Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray for good health and total healing for Mommy Dog. You would affect us at a good, rapid pace, and I thank you for it, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that. And, or say your own prayer, or both. It's up to you. Okay, all you believers, thank you. Okay, now spiritual warfare. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, I loose from me and my wife, or any of the true believers in their households and families, any unclean spirit in any of these people is loosed out of them, never to return unto them again. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that if you are a believer. Notice I said out of the families, so, and the households. So some of these people may not be believers, so they could have an unclean spirit. Okay. All right. Next, regarding my heavenly Father Jehovah, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, regarding me and my wife and all the true believers, the households and families, if there's any evil witchcraft or sorcery targeting any of these people, it is cast null and void, of no value, no effect forever, and shall never return exactly or even in a similar way forever. B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and you can agree with that as well if you're a believer. And don't let it stop you, even if it's a video. God can definitely work through a video. So I think the Bible study came out pretty good today, and I just want to again encourage you that I know a lot of you live in America, and a lot of you live in Canada, and you feel you'll be affected by this, and I don't imagine how you could not be affected by what's going to happen in America. And I would think you'd probably come out at the same time, or very close time proximity with those in America, probably about at the same time, I would think. All things work to good for those who love the Lord. You'll have a much better life. When we hit redemption, you'll have everlasting life, and that's when the new heaven and the new earth will kick in, as best I could tell, and things will be much nicer in Israel. And God runs the unclean spirits out of Israel. That's found in Zechariah 13. So they run out, so you have no demons. So imagine living in a country called Israel with no demons, and you have a temple that came down from heaven, occupied by the glory of God of Israel. I mean, and you got the two witnesses, you got Apostle John, and you got the anointed prince. I mean, my gosh, none of us have ever experienced anything like that. No Israelites in the past have ever experienced anything like this. Never. Moses and Aaron would be close, but not the same thing. And look at all the miracles they had. Getting fed by quail, all the way to opening the Red Sea. I mean, come on, But it'll be greater. The signs and wonders and miracles will be greater for us, I believe. And we'll all be wealthy, and we'll be at peace and calm and rest. And that begins, when Yeshua appears, it begins the second 70-year period. Because in Romans 9:24, it never says 70 weeks in any Hebrew manuscript. That's Cockable's story. It's 2 70s, so it's a 70-year period of testing. And my interpretation would be that the Israelites that are not saved, they have not been saved, all of a sudden God gives them His Spirit, and they wake up and they get everlasting life when they see Yeshua, because they have the Spirit of God in them, and then they come on the Exodus. I think they need a testing, because they are brand new, and there is a great falling away. And this period of testing is 70 years. That's a lifetime. 70 years is a biblical lifetime. So it's a long testing, okay? Why would I say that? Because when you're finished with that testing, the next thing that comes is Yeshua shuts down all the turmoil that you have at the end with the beast and the false prophet and all that stuff. The beast and the false prophet go into the lake of fire alive, and Satan gets bound for 1,000 years, and then you go into New Jerusalem, and there's no death in New Jerusalem. Jerusalem is never invaded or attacked, nothing. Satan surrounds, he gets them like the sand of the sea, and he surrounds Jerusalem and New Jerusalem, just like he's going to do in these days, any day now, lay siege against Israel. He's going to try to do that in the latter days, and God, Father God, Jehovah comes down from heaven and burns everything up. And then, in the blink of an eye, those of us that haven't died yet will be transformed into a different body. Now, so there's no death in New Jerusalem, but perhaps this happens when New Jerusalem is no longer there, or I don't understand it. But you're in a blink of an eye, you're changed, and you're going to have that body that gets on the clouds and goes up to heaven. Okay. Now, maybe I don't think it's fair to say you have that body until the very end, but for you to die is going to be like blink, so it's going to be like what, a fourth of a second or something. It's going to be nothing. You won't have any time to register, like that. And then you got the new body. I don't think the bodies we have in New Jerusalem let us go up on clouds. When Yeshua rose from the dead, he had such a body, but he died first. You see, it's elected unto man to die only once. So you have everlasting life. You live through the second 70. You're not dead. You go into New Jerusalem. You eat of the tree of life. You drink of the water of life. You're not dying. You never died, but you got to die before you go to heaven. So this happens in the blink of an eye and fulfills the Bible. Such a deal. So when you make it into New Jerusalem, you're pretty much making it into heaven. Okay, there's no falling away. Okay, there's nothing there where the glory of God and Israel and Yeshua leave New Jerusalem because of all the sins, like the glory of God leaving the next temple because of all the sins. No, that doesn't happen, you see. Satan and those jackasses following him could surround us, and we're just going to sit there and say, oh boy, we're getting close to going upstairs, Nobody's going to get scared or run away or anything like that, What are they going to do, beat Yeshua up, beat the glory of God up? What are they going to do, What are they going to do? Nothing, And that's when that would, so to speak, be our final test. But we all pass, Nobody's going to fall away. Everybody's just going to, So basically, once you get into New Jerusalem, you're just about as good as being in heaven. Now, maybe people do fall away in New Jerusalem, but I haven't read about it, and I don't think it happens. So that's why you've got this lifetime of testing, the second 70, where God actually gives you wealth, and he gives you peace, and he gives you everlasting life, so you're going to be like young again and have a lot of energy and run around. My people's days shall be like that of a tree, and trees live for thousands of years, and you'll live through that 70-year lifetime period, and then get in New Jerusalem, and then you'll live 1,000 years plus. After the 1,000 years, you're still there, and that's when Satan rises up. So, no death doesn't mean you have that kind of body that goes up on a cloud. Okay? still the scripture is, it's elected unto man to die only once. That's why Elijah has to die, and Enoch has to die, and Apostle John has to die. And the anointed prince, I'm sure, has to die too, and he does die. It's in Daniel 9, I don't know, verse 25 and 26. It's not Yeshua dying, it's the anointed prince in the temple. Read Ezekiel 45, and you'll see depictions of him in the temple and what he does. He sort of takes the place of the Kohen Gadol, the Aaronic priesthood office, which is done away with because if you're sure it switches to the line of David. Okay? And then in New Jerusalem, there's no temple because, Yeshua is there, the glory of God is there, and there's no need for sacrifices and offerings anymore. Of course, you've got Yeshua as the high priest and the king. So what more could you want? Could you even, you cannot, I'm telling you, you cannot imagine what it's like to be there for 1,000 years, hanging out with the two of them, where you have access. I mean, what kind of anointing do you think you're going to have? You can't even imagine it, Being around them, could you imagine the glowing you'll have? Even more so than you will from everlasting life. Arise, shine, your light has come, the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. I mean, it'll be even amazing. Yeshua is greater than the glory of God of Israel. So, I mean, unbelievable. I mean, you can't, how do we imagine that? Eye has not seen, ear has not heard what he has in store for us. Now, the 70 years testing period isn't going to be that big a deal because it says in Ezekiel chapter 9, those of us that are grievous over the injustices done in Jerusalem by the apostates, worshiping the sun god and all that other stuff, and making pictures of idols on the temple and all that. We get a mark, which is probably the name of God, on our forehead, and nothing bad happens to us. So you read, we don't even have to run away. Nothing bad will happen to us. So it's a pain in the neck. I mean, it's not a pleasant experience, but you're not going to, go to a concentration camp or get whipped, or, they're not going to cut your head off or any of that nonsense, okay? It's not going to happen. The church never teaches that, but you could read it in Ezekiel, read chapters 8 to 11 and read chapter 9. You'll see there that the abomination and desolation there is there, but it's called the image that provoketh to jealousy. And it's in the gate that connects the inner court and the outer court on the north. And the only temple that has such a gate on the north is the next temple. The other previous temples never had it. Herod, Zerubbabel, or Solomon's temple never had that architectural structure. Okay, so it's just the next one. So that's what is going on, but I don't have much doubt about you guys making it through the 70. I think the doubt would come on the ones that are going to get saved from Israel. It says they shall all know me, from the least to the greatest. I will put my law in their heart. Now, somebody falls away, so it's probably them, because they're falling away inside the inner courtyard. There's falling away, so it's probably the Israelites. Probably, most likely. And it doesn't happen to the nations except the ones that are in Yeshua, that know Yeshua, the true believers. So I think it's them that will fall away. I don't think the true believers are going to fall away, because what we've all been through, what you guys have been through, you're not going to fall away. I mean, you know too much. But the others don't know that much, so maybe they'll fall prey. I'm guessing at this. And then we're going to talk about the dry bones, the next one in Ezekiel 37, and how the two sticks are one in his hand, and that's merging the 10 tribes and the 2 tribes back to Israel, which is going to happen. So the 10 and the 2 become the 12, the 1, the Israel. To call this country Israel today is not entirely correct. Remember, the UN and mandated, God didn't do it. God refers to us now as Judah and Jerusalem, because that's the land we have now, and Judah is basically living here. There's a little bit of Simeon and a little bit of Benjamin, but it's basically Judah with Judah's Levites, so it's Levi and Judah. Those are your 2 tribes, Judah and Levi, that are here. So we got the land of Judah, we don't have the land of Israel yet. In other words, we don't have from the Euphrates to the Nile. That would include going on the other side of the Red Sea, parts of Egypt, Sudan, South Sudan, Kenya, Uganda in part, Djibouti, Ethiopia, Eritrea. I don't know, maybe I left something out, I don't think so. Then crossing over the other side, you have Saudi Arabia, then you have Edom, which will be destroyed and nobody will live there, which is Yemen. And then you have Jordan, which is Moab and Ammon, and Moab gets busted out and dead, and Ammon is the north, and they make it, and they serve Israel, and they prosper. And then you have Syria, and that gets pretty busted up, and then you have Lebanon, and that makes it busted up, but makes it Turkey would be ours, Lebanon would be ours. Turkey only to the left or the west of the Euphrates. Iraq only to the left or the west of the Euphrates River, and the same for Syria. No, does Syria even go to the Euphrates? I can't even remember now, I'm tired. I think it might. And then you also get Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, and Oman would be included, because I believe our land goes up to the water of the Persian Gulf. Iran, no, Iran's not ours. Okay. Is God going to leave us all these high rises and stuff that you have in these Arab countries? I honestly don't know. I don't know. I doubt it. I don't think he wants us to live that way in apartments, in high rises, with all this fuel thing. Satan found a way to make this energy stuff so that his people could control it and make a lot of money, and that sort of thing. Back in the era of about 1900, they were running cars on water. Back then, they were running cars on water, and going maybe forward 5 or 10 years, maybe even at 1900 or maybe 1905. No, 5. They were running electric cars. Yeah, you could see them. Go to Google and you'll see them there. You can see videos of them, pictures of them. They're in museums. They were doing it back then, but we can't do it today. We can't make cars run on water today, but we did it 120 years ago. Yeah, sure. It's a shame, isn't it? So they like that fossil fuel stuff, and that's a way of controlling wealth. Everybody in the world is running around with cars and trucks. trains and planes burning all this fuel, making Satan's chosen people wealthy. And it's pretty silly. And the price of this stuff is way overstated, you know. But that's how they do it. All right. So I send my shalom to, let's see. Please pray for me. I've got to get back in and start digging deeper with this, the welfare here for myself, for private and public welfare here. I got to get more help going. I called them and I leave messages and they don't call back. I try to get charities to help me and be an advocate, and they do nothing, or they go through some futile efforts and it doesn't work, and I don't know what to do anymore. I am trying to get a free lawyer. There's a lot of sources for that. Of course, they dealt me dirty on my benefits. They just understated them. Everybody's telling me you really need to get a lawyer, but they won't do it. It's like in America, the only way you ever really get Social Security is to go hire a lawyer. Disability, not Social Security. Social Security is fairly automatic. You got to get a lawyer, so I might have to get a lawyer. What they gave me was a pittance. It's nothing, basically next to nothing. So I've got to get. If I get a lawyer, he's going to take a percentage of all the extra they get from me, and that's going to hurt. But I'm trying to get it. There's free lawyers and organizations that say they help you. And what I think is going on, I'm sad to say, is there's a lot of private organizations, or you could call them NGOs or charities, that say they do all these great things for people, and they don't. They just say they do, and they don't really do it. They don't really do it. And that's what I'm afraid I'm up against. But I don't know. So I have to explore it, and I'm trying to get an organization to help me as my advocate, and I did. And I got a group, and they said they were helping me, and I don't know what they did. They said they had a lawyer, and the lawyer would call me, and I couldn't call the lawyer when I called the phone number. The call wouldn't go through. Oh, he's going to call you. He has some questions. They never called. And then I wanted to get some help with a food charity, because they don't have the Meals on Wheels in my community. They have them in a nearby community. So I wanted to see if I could make arrangements to get somebody to pick it up from another charity and bring it here or something like that. I no longer drive. And that fell apart, no response. So I had an organization that I thought was a respectable organization write them, and I didn't get a copy of the email, but he said he did it. He probably did it. And they never contacted, they never responded. So I'm getting to the point where I think a lot of these charities are phony. They're just raising money from Jews around the world and churches, and promising they're going to do all these great things, and they don't do very much of anything. So I don't know what to do now. So if I'm going to get a private lawyer, I don't even know who to get one. We found somebody from the forum. The people on the forums are saying the same thing. In Israel, you got to get a lawyer. So she said she was going to give me the name of 2 lawyers. And she was, I believe, Orthodox, and she talked to me and realized where I live. She was wondering why I would live here if I was into religiosity, if I was a Talmudic practicing Jew, why would I live in this area? And then she just decided not to have any correspondence with me because I was probably just a historical Jew, not a real practicing Talmudic Jew. So she didn't want to help me. So it's difficult. So I need prayer on this. And I think I will prevail with prayer unless the Lord doesn't want me to. Then no matter what happens, nothing will work. So you might want to pray if the Lord wants it to happen. Pray, and you might want to pray if the Lord doesn't want it to happen, that He makes it clear to me, which He has not done. I don't think He's done it. I think I'm just getting hoodwinked by organizations that say they do all these great things and they don't. So I'm going to have to go back and start calling again. I don't know. I need to try to. I think I'm being led to go to this organization. I know the guy that runs it, and ask for some help from them, to have them as my advocate. They don't do the things like that, but to have them as an advocate for me. I'm going to have to try that, I think. Maybe that'll be better. It's always better to have somebody with an organization behind you, to ask them. I don't know what else to do. There's a organization that does the free lawyers for what I need, and every time I call it, it rings and rings and rings, and nobody answers it. See what I run into? It's weird, it's like, Twilight Zone or something. You got charities that say they do things and they don't. And, it's weird. It's weird. Okay, guys. So I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach, and thank you for the prayers. And I hope you got something out of this. And we do run on offerings.